welcome back to another edition of the Swinburne Professional Staff Network podcast, the podcast professionals with Kristy and Ash, made by professional staff for professional staff. I'm Ash Carden, and as always, first and foremost, we would like to acknowledge the traditional landowners of the land we're recording on. For me, it's Boonwurrung country, and Kristy is in Eastern Kulin Nation. We are also joined today by a special guest. There is Ginger the cat. We also have a VIP guest later, but for right now, Ginger is walking all around the microphone. So if you hear any brushing or purring that we don't edit out, that's Ginger's contribution to the Swinburne Professional Staff Network. In addition to my feline partner in crime, let me introduce my partner in pod, Kristy Horn. Welcome back to the mic.
G'day, Ash, and hi, Ginger. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristy Horn, and it's just so awesome to be here and always great to see you, Ash. Thank you so much for that amazing intro. You nailed it, as always. You are 100% correct. It's been a big couple of weeks for us.
Huge couple of weeks.
Right. Not only was our last podcast so much fun to record, but it was really well received and downloaded. So thanks to everyone who tuned in, and also to Swin alumni, Matt Levy. I know you're listening. He listens, you know that, right?
That's amazing. He's an
does.
Olympian. That's crazy.
He's, 5-time.
And I loved that podcast.
It was the best, right?
Yeah. So, why has it been massive few weeks for us?
Tell me.
We were at conferences, our first conferences that we've presented. Actually, Kristy, have you presented at conferences? No.
Never. It was my first time ever.
Me too.
So it was really, really cool, wasn't it? So it was off the back of our article called Not Just Another Podcast. And basically that was just outlining the beginnings of the podcast professional, how it came to be, the who, the why, the how, blah, blah, blah. And so we were able to present at 2 conferences, right?
Absolutely. So we had ATEM's Tertiary Education Management Conference, TEMC. So at Swinburne, Nicola Howard secured for us organisational access. So everyone was able at Swinburne to log on and enjoy parts of TEMC, which was really, really appreciated. Lots of people did log on. We got quite a few views ourselves, some lovely feedback and some really good sessions. So everyone that was able to attend had some good feedback from TEMC, so that was really exciting, but mainly for us as our first conference. But then
so cool.
First conference and second conference.
Yeah.
Who pulled that off? Our other one.
Oh, I know. We the TEMC one was pretty cool. I just loved that. So we uploaded our conference presentation on demand. But the second conference we presented at, which was live, folks, was the AusEdPodCon. So this was the second ever conference run by Swinburne University and the Adobe Creative Cloud mob. And so that was hosted by the School of Sciences, School of Social Sciences, Media and Film and Educatione. Yep. And we presented live, and it was to an international audience. So there were people from who do podcasts, like proper podcasters.
Proper podcasts and an academic conference and all these amazing presentations with a range of things from technical expertise to podcasts that had a worldwide reach, and they all had research and data and
marketing and plans and strategic stuff. And Ash and I rock up. We cranked up the music and we bopped along to our presentation. It was really good and it was so well received. Funny thing happened though. It was a cold night and I had the heater on and I was so pumped up. I was ready to present. And when I saw my face come up on the screen because people were watching, it was bright red. It's like a tomato head.
And I contributed some technical difficulties with Mason on the background. So Tomato Kristy had to pick up also the whole presentation.
You did so well, Ash, because you were like eyes were big, bright like this, and then you're typing madly in the background, and then you put yourself on mute, and then I was just slid in. It was a seamless prezzo. So, yeah, that was ace fun. It was really, really good, wasn't it?
It was so fun and such just a welcoming, very safe environment. So despite being so nervous and amongst all these presentations, it was really great experience, really glad to meet more of our colleagues and just be a part of it. I felt really welcomed. So that was
really Hey, today is a bit of a special day, Ash, and I've got this song. I've got a bit of an earworm going on in my head today. It's the John. Actually, mine's the "That's Freedom," the John Farnham.
Wow, I was just very bad Aussie rock by me.
And totally cool. So
for our listeners, so you know, we do have a script that is put together for these podcasts, and Kristy is the brilliant engineer and producer behind these. And then I'm just going off script now for some reason. I'm on a post-conference high. So now we sing in our podcast sometimes.
We do. Why not? Wait till we get Rachel Mosel on, because there's going to be a bit of rock set. I've got her lined up, Ash.
Excellent.
Hey, have you done anything to celebrate today? I can tell you I have celebrated with a vanilla slice.
Excellent. I'm not going to win any further Aussie points because I don't really like vanilla slices.
Oh, okay.
No,
that's all right.
Nor do I like pavlova.
Oh, yeah, I'm not a Pav fan either. Yeah.
Really?
No, I don't like that gooey stuff in the middle.
Yeah, it's the gooey stuff. I'm fine with the toppings, obviously.
Yeah, and the crunchy bits.
Peppermint crisp, both. Anywho, so for us with my son, myself, I'm a little concerned just about cases rising because my son's not eligible for a vaccine as yet. So we're keeping things close to home. And got to organise visiting, though, my parents, who I forgot to call and organise, and they don't live that far away. I'm lucky enough to be like an hour away from my parents, who haven't seen their grandson for quite some time, and I haven't organised it, so we'll just be doing that.
I know. There's I'm just going to take it slowly, actually. I'm just going to not... Otherwise, I feel too overwhelmed. I just have been a bit up and down emotionally about, oh, my God, what am I going to do? I think first things first, I've got to get my hair done. These grey roots are just disgusting.
Since
that's
pandemic,
getting done.
Firstly, grey is in. So you rock that grey if you like to, but also it's your hair.
I reckon it's an ugly grey, though. I mean, I know some people that we work with that have got grey hair and they bloody well rock it, man.
Beautiful, and a grey hair or grey hair and a red lip that's just like I could never be that cool, but I know the look you're talking about. It's phenomenal. Some hair done or just a day of massage. That is something I think I'm going to do.
Okay.
Massage at some point. But I agree with taking it slow as well.
Yeah. And so then we've got actually so much to talk about.
Including our guest coming up. So before we get too sidetracked and off script, no matter how fun it is, we are going to introduce and welcome our guest, Craig McCallum.
Great idea, Ash. So why don't we kick off the podcast and get this show on the road. On today's episode, we have the pleasure of chatting with Craig McCallum, General Manager of Swinburne Professional. Hang on a minute, Ash. I think I can hear him at the pod door. So let's welcome Craig to the Podcast Professionals mic. Hi, Craig, and welcome to the Podcast Professionals. It's really great to have a chance to chat with you. So thank you so much for your time today.
No worries, Kristy Ash. It's really great to be with you both, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It's just fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you. So let's start off with a bit of serious stuff, Craig. Your role is General Manager of Swinburne Professional, and it's a big and senior role. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what that involves?
Absolutely. Look, it's an amazing role, particularly because I get to work with such a brilliant team of around 80 people. A big part of the role is actually at the moment reinventing Swinburne Professional and co-creating the B2B strategy for Swinburne University more broadly that's actually going to meet the shifting needs of our markets. That being around our professional lifelong learners and those responsible for pivoting large workforces to actually meet the changing landscape of the world of work across enterprise, enterprises, medium to large businesses and government. And I'm fortunate to be supported by a leadership team that's actually comprises a combination of many, many years of experience in the space of learning and development, learning design, workforce strategy and advisory, innovation, commercialization and research insights. So it's a very mixed bag.
And that's within professional as well as throughout Swinburne, or specifically within?
That is specifically within Swinburne Professional.
Wow.
So I've got a leadership team of 5, including me, and then there's a broader team beyond that, obviously, that do all of those elements of workforce advisory, research, insights, and learning, design, innovation, and design and delivery of continuing and professional education programs for both lifelong learners or individual learners and enterprises.
It's fantastic.
And I've seen your team's growing as well, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, we've already started to pivot the offering that we actually have. So very early days, we were very well known and still are very well known for training and development. What we're pivoting to now is actually getting into at the front end of the conversation with enterprises. So instead of being at the conversation end when they know they need a training solution, we're now at the front of the conversation to actually help identify what has broken in the value chain and how we can actually work through the workforce strategy, of which training and development may actually be a solution, but then we will partner with other organisations, some, like Deloitte or PwC to do some broader work, or we might partner with a wellbeing expert, or we'll partner with a cultural expert so that we can actually bring the whole holistic solution to a client, and us not just have to purely be known anymore as training and development. But that obviously is still part of what we do.
That is amazingly broad remit. I'm assuming the next step after that is also take over the world. Like it just seems like the logical.
Well, I mean, people have said that, and I'm sort of going, you know what, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, so let's just do one little bit at a time.
Greg, you came from Uni South Australia. How was that transition from Uni South Australia to Swinburne?
Well, actually, I went from UniSA to the University of Adelaide and then on to Swinburne University of Technology. So that means I can talk about 2 more roles. But the UniSA role was actually bringing together the operational and product go-to-market strategies for the universities at that time, new undergraduate online offering. It was a really challenging role. And I mean, what exceptional timing pre-pandemic to have your whole undergraduate offering all online already. And the role of the University of Adelaide was actually leading the education transformation team in bringing the educational offering, particularly the B2B offering, in line with market demand. So the transition to Swinburne was both fun and challenging. Fun because Team Swinburne are an amazing bunch of passionate and dedicated folk, which just made the welcome so much easier. But it was a virtual, transformation, which was challenging. And I know I wasn't alone in that challenge, but doing remote introductions, you could sort of have 2 or 3 weeks of full on get to know the Swinburne team, which is great. But as human beings, we need that human interface, and screens just don't cut it over the long term. So that was a challenge. I actually didn't get to meet my team until February, and I started in November the year before.
Yeah.
Wow, how's that? It's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ash.
Huge. And absolutely what sort of we've been finding with staff all over the shop that especially starting and training as well in pandemic and completely remote environment is just a whole new world, really. So, and I think I'm skipping here, but you did mention things around new ways of working is obviously part of the remit, but is that something that you're already doing within your own teams in Swinburne Professional? And something that, can you give us some hot tips across the university maybe that we could follow in our own work in our own teams?
Yeah, look, we are actually working with people and culture on some of that work, and we know that there's the broader workshops that are going on now about informing our returning to work policy or procedure that we want to follow. We absolutely do need to practice what we preach, and we are definitely working with organisations now who are really struggling to understand how do we bring people back to work. But more importantly than that question, though, it's now the question about what is the role of the office now. And that has changed significantly to what it used to be. And now it's around, well, what do we do with the space? What is the purpose of the space? And so our Centre for the New Workforce, which is being elevated into being the part of the core offering of Swinburne Professional now. So everything that we do is actually underpinned by the research and the insights that the Centre for the New Workforce provides to us around our products, our CPE offering, and also our workforce advisory. And we've created the workforce advisory because this is a huge demand that we identified in our market research that we did to inform our B2B strategy, that one of the biggest things that enterprises are wanting to know now is what is the role of the office? What we bring to that is the ability to be able to talk about, well, what's the people role in this new world of work, and how do people interact with this new role of the office?
Wow. I just love everything that you've just said there. And that's just such a perfect segue into something that I know is coming up in the next week or so. But at Swim Professional, you guys have been running some amazing workshops that I've attended, a bunch of them. And you've got the one, I think it's next week, is it? The future of office is hybrid?
Yep, that's right.
Is that what you were just alluding to there with the research, et cetera?
Yeah, well, that's the latest piece of research that has come out of the Centre for the New Workforce. There were two previous big reports that also informed us on our new approach. And that was a really good demonstration of just saying, look, our own research is telling us this. We need to actually go out there and practice what we preach through our research and demonstrate that what we're researching and what the findings of those research are actually applicable to the real world. So 2020 absolutely changed work forever, and 2021 is changing it yet again. And this is going to be a constant evolution of the future of work for some time to come. So as we exit the pandemic, workers increasingly want flexible working arrangements where they can move between home and office with ease, and they are demanding and pretty much demanding that is to stay as the new way of working. So the struggle is that we've got HR and learning and development and business leaders are really trying to adapt or risk the fallout from losing talent, having empty offices and slowing innovation. But when it's done right, there's evidence to suggest that hybrid working can actually be the opportunity to lift the organisation to the next level. Yep. So the big question that the webinar is actually going to answer is, well, how does hybrid work actually add lift to the organisation? So that's going to be led by Dr. Sean Gallagher. He's our director of our Workforce Insights team, and it will cover the key findings about the experiences and expectations of workers in Australia, and it will include recommendations from an expert panel on how to design effective hybrid workspaces and strategies.
I've actually registered for that one myself and have promoted it online through the Social Network Research Lab, who I also work with. Yeah. Craig, that's really interesting because I know in Sobel, where both Ash and I are, we've got a professional staff meeting next week where we're talking about exactly ways of working and coming back to the office. So I'm really, really interested in that, and also looking forward to attending the future of office is hybrid next week.
Great. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks. I wanted to, I'll give you a wave. Hey, I wanted to ask you, Craig, have you seen an increase in professional development, upskilling, or people changing careers in the past 18 months? Anything stand out to you, like trends?
Yeah, it's a yes and no answer to that question. What we're actually seeing are peaks and troughs of demand for upskilling that's tightly linked to the sentiment influenced by the lockdowns. So companies and individuals did gain confidence when we opened the borders. Once they close again, optimism drops, and that was in the very early days of lockdown. But what happened in lockdown 6.0 was really quite amazing because it saw a very different approach, particularly from enterprises. And the mood had changed significantly, and it really just came down to, we just need to get on with this. We can't just keep opening, closing, stopping, starting all of the time. And so the sentiment changed to a really proactive, moving forward approach. Then lockdown 6.0.1 came, and although it didn't revert back to the overly cautious approach that enterprises were taking, so much with individuals came forward more, and they just said, we've just got to carry on. But some businesses did then become cautious again, and activity paused. So we've just been seeing this peaks and troughs of, yes, we want to do this because organisations know that having people working remotely, you've got to keep them engaged. There's great opportunity to actually do some more training and development. But a big cursor to the desire to come back is the desire to come back to face-to-face learning. So I think we've all had enough of the remoteness of working and learning, and we desperately just want some level of human interaction. So there's also cautiousness around vaccinations and vaccination status, and that's associated processes now that are actually becoming now a big cause for concern. And although there's a desire to come back to face-to-face, organisations are really trying to catch up with the wellness and the wellbeing procedures that come with the vaccination status on site, etc.
I agree with that. I'm all for a balanced approach. I think we also, as a sector, particularly in education, as my other VIP guest, a different cat to the one we had earlier in our introduction, decides to join, we have lost staff in higher education with loss of income. So a lot of work has been picked up, and there are things about working from home that are more productive. But I think that's also added to the drain, because at some point, if you are being more productive, you are also more tired and losing that human energy. So I like a hybrid type model, but I'm quite concerned. I have a young son who's not eligible for vaccination. So I don't know what the research says, but I think there is, from an organisational standpoint, as a manager, it's a nightmare. I absolutely appreciate if anyone themselves or cares for someone with any sort of reason to be immunocompromised. No one particularly wants COVID, so there's that safety concern. So organisationally, it will be really interesting to see some of the results of that. I think Swinburne is an organisation that's quite good, and university sector is known for having good rules around its people and its employment. I know Swinburne wants to be an employer of choice, and a lot goes into doing that, and Jessie's area and employee experience is focused on that. So it'll be really interesting to see at Swinburne how we, though, realistically navigate it with also the physical space part. Craig, do you think the hybrid office and the spaces we have versus need, how big a part would you say that plays as well?
Oh, look, I think the space component, I'm certainly not versed to be able to comment on what Swinburne as a university can do, but I know it's been looked at. But certainly from what our organisations or partners are looking for is that they have these huge office spaces that are currently just sitting empty and have been for months, if not a year. And so we're actually working with a large developer who would be known, you would know their name if we said it, that actually has a responsibility around this space, because they've got buildings that are empty and their tenants are either wanting to stop their leases, or in fact, some organisations like Swinburne Professional, we've actually grown and we may not fit into the offices that we had allocated to us, a year ago. So all of these are culminating. What do we do with the space? Do we need all of the space? How do people want to come back and actually use that space? We do need people to come back to the office in some way or form, but we are not sure what that's going to look like. And to your earlier point, we've become used to being able to work from home, look after young ones, and bring and mix that in to our way of working. We can work different hours, etc., if we've got that flexibility. So Some of the evidence that's coming through in the research that the Centre for the New Workforce has done is actually indicating that people are actually going to leave the organisation if they don't see representation of flexibility not being an option, but actually being part of the deal. It's a non-optional. That's going to be, it's very interesting times for us going forward.
It sure
Absolutely.
is. So are you making plans to return with your specific team, or are you just going, what are the plans there?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what we've got to look at, right? So, as I said, we are looking to bring people back, but it's going to look very different. And there's obviously reasons around that. Is that Swinburne's got its own return to work policies that we're working on, and there will be I'm sure, a creating of flexible ways of work. So we do need to practice what we preach. I guess the other consideration is that we've grown, as I said, as a team, and the pivot of Swinburne Professional from being that pure training offering to now, co-creating the next generation workforce now means that we've got new people on the team. We've combined teams as well, so we've got more people doing the frontline work that probably do not need to come into the office because they can do it from phone. And the systems that we've got in place. But then we've got senior consultants, for example, who actually will need to go and start seeing clients face to face again. So again, that vaccination piece comes in. What's the wellness plan? What do we have to do in order to be able to protect and safeguard our staff, but also safeguard our clients? So what does that look? What are those mechanisms going to look like? And we partner with clients a lot, and we're starting to really understand that we're not unique. This is not unique to us. This is something that's happening very, very broadly, and it will look different for Swinburne Professional when we come back to the office. But I cannot imagine that everyone that was working on site at the 3 campuses will all be returning to work in any way that it looked previously.
No,
it'll be very different.
And I think so. In my sort of utopian type ideal is teams that we work with but are previously located separately. I would love to get just more sharing, because I think the way through, and especially not just Swinburne, obviously I don't know either, the whole sector, everyone's a bit tight in the funding space at the moment. So I would love for some organisation-wide collaborative sharing type arrangement until we get to a space where there's some money to revamp the offices. At least then we'll have a real clear picture of what we need. Now, actually logistically managing an organisation like Swinburne with that many thousands of employees to have a full shared office situation, I'm not sure if that is in fact possible or feasible in a short time frame. That's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a unique proposition. I mean, one of the big banks did this a couple of years ago when I was working in the organisational culture space. This was a big brand move for one of the big banks, and it was literally a notification came out from the CEO to say that you would no longer have your own desk anymore. You came in and the entire 40-story building that they had in Sydney was actually just going to be predominantly shared. You just plonked your laptop down, and it was really around trying to encourage this desire for people to collaborate and meet people from other departments and really remove the silos. Now, did that effectively happen? The approach of demanding and saying, okay, you don't have a desk anymore, probably didn't go over that well with everybody. But it eventually, once you get over that threshold of something's happening to me, it actually did start to work. And then they created this vision of creativity within boundaries. And it was Macquarie Bank who did this probably about eight years ago.
Well, they were ahead of their time, weren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
To do something like that. Super interesting stuff. Craig, you're just about to celebrate your first 12 months at Swinburne. How are you going to celebrate?
Well, you know what? Secretly, I mean, because I'm originally from South Australia, well, obviously with UniSA and the University of Adelaide. So I was predominantly over the border each time Melbourne went into lockdown. So although I came back to Hawthorn just yesterday, just in time for the midnight, we're all open now, I'm absolutely going to be out there and just enjoying the beautiful weather. And I love Melbourne. I used to live in Melbourne. And one of the things that I find is lost, and it's understandable, is that European vibe that I loved in Melbourne so much. And we just absolutely need to bring that back. So I'm going to be out there at the cafes, at the restaurants, just totally enjoying what Melbourne has to offer. But I believe that retail therapy is not quite going to be possible yet. Might have to wait for that.
I think another week, they're saying.
Another week, all right.
Yeah. Hey, this is a question without notice and a little bit of a cheeky one, but I've heard in the city of Melbourne they're going to be installing a zip line across the Yarra.
No.
Really?
Yes. Yep. Flying fox.
It's not one to fall down on, though.
It's happening. It's going to be up and running in December. Is that you might celebrate like that, Craig?
I absolutely would. I'd be right there. I'd be number one in the line.
And so apparently also through the city, but also in suburbs, there were, I'm going to assume it was all within restrictions, just my disclaimer, there were actually parties and just freedom, people just enjoying the freedom from midnight last night, which I think is really, it's nice, even though for myself, for our family, we're going to be cautious. I love that there is those options, and that vibrancy that Melbourne has is already, people like so ready to be back to that Melbourne feel, which is
absolutely. I mean, I was there at midnight too, celebrating.
You were?
Not. So I think I might have woken up and just gone, yay, Melbourne, and then rolled over and went back to sleep. So I was there with it all. Yeah.
Pretty exciting day today. Yeah. I celebrated with a vanilla slice.
Oh, well done. That was my favourite treat at the tuck shop. So when Mum would give me, goodness me, in those days, I'm showing my age now, $5 or something to go to the tuck shop on a Tuesday. And the thing was either the cherry ripe slice or the vanilla slice, but I loved the vanilla slice.
So good.
With the white icing on the top?
Yeah, I was scoffing it down before and then breathed in a bit of the icing. It was
oh, you should have shared that, you know. I mean, goodness me, we could have all had a piece for this podcast.
Sorry
about that.
Vanilla slice. I don't know.
Yeah.
I cannot get behind it. Cherry ripe slice, or when I do remember also having X amount of money to go to the tuck shop, and for some reason we didn't realise at the time, my older brother and I, that obviously our mum knew that we took our $1 and got 100 lollies instead of the fruit that she told us to buy, and we thought she believed us. So,
she's on to you, Ash. She's on to you. Yeah.
Is she going to be listening? Is she going to be listening to this episode? Does she know that yet?
I mean, I feel like she knew it at the time.
Okay, all right. I'd hate us to go national on something that she didn't know, you know?
No, I mean, if she didn't know, that's probably a bigger conversation. Maybe Sam and I are better, more subtle than we think we are. But if she listens to it and gives me a call, that would be hilarious.
There we go.
You're in.
Kristy's mum listens.
Oh, my mum listens. Yeah, she's our number one. Hey, Craig, you have been one of our most awesome VIP guests on the podcast. How do you reckon we went today?
Look, I think you've done extremely well. You've kept me on track. And you know what? I mean, who doesn't love a spotlight and a mic, really? So I think you've been great.
Such truth.
And just a follow-up question right here. Do you like our name? Are you a little bit jealous of the podcast professionals?
Yeah, look, when I heard it, I was pretty envious. You know, Swinburne Professional, the podcast professionals, it was kind of getting a bit close. I thought we might have some competition. But then I thought, you know, because the Swintopia, the swing turns is all becoming, you know, quite a big thing at the moment. So I thought, yeah, you said because you got the swing turns, Swin Pros podcast. But then I rethought that and I thought, yeah, let's just keep it as it is. The podcast professionals, much cleaner. We'll leave it as it is, I think.
I can't believe that Global is not called Swinternational.
I love that. Why wouldn't it be?
There we go.
Bring Douglas on, the new PBC International, and tell him that. Okay. You've got my vote.
We'll send him this podcast and say, this is, normally we interview people, but this is a petition. Swinternational.
Love it.
Makes sense. Hey, we were just talking about $100 and tell us, are you able to tell us, Craig, what what you're going to, have you booked into the Hawthorn Hotel yet, or are you going to be enjoying your $100 voucher at the Hawthorn Hotel with $100 worth of hot chips and beer?
I did do the calculation to see how many chicken schnitzels I can get for $100, and it was a few. But one of our team came up with a really great idea that we're actually testing with everyone, and that is that Swinburne Professional will actually combine all the vouchers and use that as a team Christmas lunch.
Oh, so good.
How inventive is that? That's the team I'm working with, right? Just thinking outside the square all the time.
I don't know if I should mention that the Business Law and Entrepreneurship School is considering doing the same, has been since they came out.
Yeah,
so we're all innovative.
But you heard it from me first and then you followed. So that's okay. It's the biggest compliment of all is that people follow your lead.
2 months ago.
Oh, my God.
2 months ago.
Absolutely loving it.
So maybe actually we need Craig and Karen on this podcast and we'll have this out.
Absolutely, let's do that, because I would have an email in my inbox from the person who came up with the idea. Now let's see if the dates match, which is who was really first. Yeah, we can sort this out with facts. It's okay.
I'm going to do this and I'm going to figure out the meeting that it was at. Yes, this is exciting. This is a whole new level for the podcast.
This is a challenge. This is the $100 voucher challenge at Hawthorn Hotel. I mean, there is an event in itself.
Oh, my God, this is so good.
When the podcast professionals and Swinburne Professional combine, we just level into this either collaborative or competitive or a little bit of both, and I'm here for it.
It's been really great getting to know you, Craig. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. But before we let you out of the pod booth, we have one final question for you, and this is our most important question we ask all our VIP guests.
Right.
Connection and reconnection of staff is the theme of our podcast. So can you tell us, in your opinion, why it's so important to connect with staff and why it's so important to keep connected, particularly as we return to campus?
Yeah, look, connection is a great theme. And, it's also a great word, competition, connection, all that we were just talking about. But I don't know whether you guys actually watch the BBC sitcom Miranda.
Oh, my God, I love Miranda.
Right, and she selects words that she likes, and one of them that she often uses is plinth. And, she says plinth is such a lovely word. And then she'd say, plinth. I think the same with connection, but then I don't have my mother in the background saying, oh, such fun. But as she does. But I love the show. But connection, look, it's so current and it's really relevant, particularly today, but every other day. I think there's 2 points I'd like to make on it. Firstly, we're human beings and we need to connect to function, and we've missed that. So although there will be challenges in coming back to socialising in person, as we've potentially lost the groove of social interaction, but it will come back. And I had a colleague share with me the other day, they were in Sydney and they were out socialising, because they had their Freedom Day a couple of weeks before us, of course. They said that they were about 12 people around for lunch, and they were so exhausted halfway through, they just had to go home and have a sleep. So what that demonstrates is that we've become used to this virtual thing and we get tired from that because we're using different cognitive parts of our brain, etc. But then we have to get back to using the other part of our brain, which is that social interaction in person. And there's a whole lot of stuff that we just intrinsically do as humans to connect and read each other. But secondly, we're one big team at Swinburne, and we can't do what we're all passionate about, which is really educating the next generation now and co-creating the next generation workforces now, without doing it together. And so these genuine connections are absolutely critical.
Great answer. And as we gallop out of this latest podcast, we hope to meet you in real life really, really soon and have a coffee or catch up with a cuppa. And just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to be on the Podcast Professionals with Kristy and Ash today.
You're very welcome, Kristy and Ash. It's been a joy. Thank you so much.
And we're recording now. And in 3, 2, 1. Well, Ash, how about that? You have to say that was a pretty bloody good episode. Do you think Craig loved it or what?
I think either he loved it or no, there is no or. He loved it. I loved it. That was fantastic.
was such an ace chat. I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit better. I've heard of him, seen him around the traps, like online, et cetera, but actually hadn't met him. So it was really nice. And I am totally going to go and spook him at some stage when we're back on campus.
Yes, absolutely. And we've got the seminar for hybrid working or new ways of working next week. I believe I've registered. I need to check.
I think they're going to have a lot of people there, so that's going to be excellent.
Yeah.
We've got some excellent guest speakers. Before we wrap up this amazing pod, please let the tradition continue, Ash, and provide a score out of 10, please. Fire away.
I feel like we have leveled up to 15 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. After these amazing experiences, the conferences, being at AusEdPodCon was so reassuring, and it was such a learning experience that I feel like the whole pod has leveled up.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Our score must level up.
True that. Or we could go 265 out of 10 because that's how many days we've been in cumulative lockdown.
That escalated fast.
If you went 15, I went 265. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We just know this was an awesome, awesome podcast.
So awesome. I've had an amazing time. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed our banter. However, if we get some of those comments on Yammer saying, guys, keep it less, that's okay. We're adaptable.
Doubt it.
I'm hoping to see, however, just laugh reactions and various, and see if you can see through the podcast where I almost but didn't drop potentially a swear word.
No, it's going to be
twice.
That's it. There's going to be some sort of special sound effects over the top of that. All righty, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. We do have our final episode of this series. Do you like that, Ash? Coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we have got somebody awesome lined up. You're going to absolutely love it. So until then, stay what? I don't know. Stay well.
Temporarily final episode. Enjoy freedom.
Yeah.
It's not final episode forever. It's just...
No. It's just final for this season.
Oh, yes. We have multiple seasons. We're signed on for like a keeping up with the Kardashians type deal, minimum 20 seasons.
All right. Ash, great to see you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And until next time, see you later.